I have some printed materials to distribute if someone wants to volunteer to do that. Mitch, can I volunteer you to do stuff?
Yes, absolutely.
More as examples, and I've got my business cards as well as examples. So my name is Hunter Rand. I have been a pirate since 2013. Actually, when I started running my campaign, the Democratic Party of Washoe County outed me as a pirate, and someone did a public records request and found the handwritten voter registration card where I wrote in pirate and published that on Facebook, thinking that would offend me. And to say I'm a proud pirate is an understatement. I'm running for Sparks City Council, Ward 2 in Sparks, Nevada. And first off, before I get into my presentation, I want to thank my wife, Cheyenne. She hates this when I do this, but like I cannot understate how awful that this experience has been, and she's been with me every step of the way. And I got to thank Mitch. Mitch has gotten some pretty bad phone calls from me. I won't get into it. This presentation's not actually about my campaign. See, I tricked you all. But it's been, you know, we've had people following me a bit. We had a shooting at our house. You want to talk about nasty politics, this is nasty politics. And I think something that I'm learning is unique is in our community, our elected officials are full-time, high-paying positions. If I win, I'm going to make $100,000 a year. And there's a lot of casino money. There's a lot of people that lose a lot if I win. So I'm going to get into it. I kind of wanted to treat today as talking about, because it isn't just pirates. In Washoe County, we are others. Washoe County is one of the most important counties when it comes to presidential elections and elections in general. And you're nodding like you know exactly. You've probably heard it on NBC, and unfortunately, our elections make national news frequently. But I think that especially in our community, we have a chance to become real legitimate challengers because of how our elections work. So in Sparks, it's called a jungle primary. Parties don't matter, and we can win outright in the primary, and that's the goal. They're not going to print our party. I was originally running as a nonpartisan, and I wasn't going to change my party because that felt dishonest, because I've always been a pirate, and I'm still a pirate. And so I just never updated my registration, and then I got outed, and I'm like, well, might as well just run as a pirate anyways. So who am I? So right now I'm kind of in a new position. I'm a full-time software developer and a compliance officer at a state planning firm in Reno, Nevada, and I'm a part-time television and film producer. One night a week I'll go direct live sports for television, and recently getting into hobbyist AI research, mostly so I can understand it. Data centers are a huge problem in northern Nevada right now, and you guys can just Google Nevada data centers. Water's a problem, and so I could tell you I'm the only person running for office or in office in Nevada that has any idea what's going on. Everyone else just parrots what these developers say. And I've been a lifelong resident in Sparks, Nevada. I went to school there, grew up there, and my wife and I have bought a home there, and we probably won't die there, I'll be honest, but you know, we love our community. So what is Sparks? So I always like to talk about this because no one seems to understand the geography of Nevada. Las Vegas is all the way at the bottom of Nevada, and we are about 9 hours northwest in Washoe County, the Orange County, and you could see most of it is unincorporated, and we have our own county government that's separate, and their job is to manage the, there's actually one elected official for that whole upper area, and there's not that many people up there. So Reno is that gray area. The red area is Sparks, and there's our town. We have a council manager government, so the mayor is a true executive. There's veto power. He doesn't get to vote. There's no term limits for mayor and Sparks because they don't get to vote. We have 5 council members that represent 5 districts. We call them wards, and they have one city employee who is accountable to them, and that's the city manager. So it's against the law for an elected official in the city of Sparks to actually ask anything of a city employee except the city manager, and that's the city manager's job to execute. It's 36 square miles, 500 miles of roads, 110,000 residents, 6 fire stations. I say that because we can't staff them all. One of them's closed right now. And if you guys are familiar with the wildfires that you guys probably see on the news, half of our overtime last year, or 2024, I think it was $3 million in overtime. Half of that was wildfires. It's kind of not optional to fight them, especially when I think the closest one has been a half mile from our home. So this is actually on our way here. I grabbed this picture, and that's our house, and that's Ward 2. It's an older community. So what are my campaign pillars? So people first, they're the pirate pillars. People first. Opening up government, I want city council meetings to be at night or on the weekends. I got a death threat over that. I don't know why that's my controversial proposal. And defending privacy. This presentation's not about flock safety cameras, but I want to tell you ALPRs are a problem. I'm not as worried about drones. We have drone as a first responder. It's against the law for them to use those to do anything other than respond to 911 calls. They can't use them for patrol, and they use them for fire response. So they have been saving money and saving lives. And they're working on delivering AEDs by drone as well in our community, because sometimes our traffic, yeah. So if I go out on Pyramid Way, which is one of the major streets in my neighborhood, at the wrong time, it's like 20 minutes to go a block. So that's when the AEDs by drone start to make sense. So what are my campaign values? So my entity is called Rand Together. That's the official legal name of my campaign. So empathy. I always talk about one of my middle school teachers drilling empathy into us and teaching us what that meant. And I think that's something that's been lost. Doing better. As a teacher I worked with when I taught high school, I taught at Spanish Springs High School. I was a career and technical education teacher. And Juan Villegas, just every day he would say, do better to everyone. Himself, me, other teachers, students, just do better. Like, you're going to mess up. You're not going to be perfect, but you just do better. Just keep trying to do better. And that's something that I want to apply to government. And I think we should all do that. When I worked for Nevada women's basketball, Amanda Levins, one of my favorite coaches, she had a saying that complacency kills. And I remember her first year, we played UConn when UConn had their 130 game winning streak. And Gabby Williams is from Sparks, Nevada. She went to Reed High School. And so it was a homecoming. The game before, they played UCLA, and they played 5 players for 40 minutes. And if you know basketball, that's offensive. That is unsportsmanlike conduct. It's rude that's dominance, to be able to play 4 or 5 players for 40 minutes straight because UCLA was not tough enough. They played all 15 players when they played at Nevada. We didn't win, but they got complacent, right? And I think you can have a successful community, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to continue to do better. So these are the 6 things that have kind of been guiding my campaign. And so why run? So we're at a crossroads. We have a $120 million budget. We are $20 million short. We've already closed 1 fire station. And my district has the highest number of fire and medical calls. We're an older neighborhood. I got cloth Romex in my walls. If you know what that is, it's scary as hell. And my house is not the only house. My house was built in 1968. But what are they doing in response to this? They're raising sewer fees, they're raising trash fees. And, I got a neighbor who's owned her house outright for 30 years, and she's a widow. She can't go back to work. And now she's living paycheck to paycheck again, and she has a tenant. And that shouldn't be normal. I think we need fresh perspectives and technical expertise. I cannot understate that I don't think anyone on the Sparks City Council, there's one person who's younger, but especially when it comes to data centers, I don't think anyone has any idea what's going on. They just parrot what the developers tell them to say because that developer gave them a $5,000 check to their campaign. That's my opinion on the advice of council. I have to say that a lot. We have a lot of decisions that are made without public input. So going back to the flock safety cameras, maybe that's what we want. Maybe we want surveillance. I don't know. We don't know because we've never had a meeting about it. They slip it in on the consent agenda. And instead of doing a big contract, they do 3 cameras here, 3 cameras there. So it's always under the threshold. Any council member can pull a consent item. No one ever has. They vote together every single time. We do have the talent and the energy to build something better. We have people in our community that want to help, and they've been blocked out because they want to do things differently, and apparently doing things differently is bad. And it isn't just about Ward 2. I think that if I get into office, it's going to change the landscape of politics in Northern Nevada. I'm going to be the first. I know I don't look like it. I'm half Asian. My mom's Asian. I'm a first-gen citizen. I'll be the first Asian American to serve on the Sparks City Council. I'll be the first Asian American to serve in any elected body in Northern Nevada ever. And so there's that. We've never had that kind of representation. We've never had someone from an other party ever elected. They're either truly nothing, they're independent, because that's a party in Nevada. It's not. There's independents, and then there's nonpartisans. Independent's a party. Then there's IAP, they're right-wing Republicans and Democrats. And we've never had someone from, like, the Pirate Party win, and we have a chance, and I'll get into that. Most of all, we have a representative who puts revenue, special interest corporations before the needs and the wants of the people. I cannot understate how much our public comment is ignored. I don't know if the audio's, oh no! I don't know if the audio is going to work on this. I'm trying to route it through that, so people online might have it. I'll narrate it if it doesn't work. Oh. I don't know if the people in the meeting can hear that. She's essentially just saying that that we have some speakers that are spreading information at public comment. My response to that was, yes, thank you for pointing out the fact that I am at public comment spreading information. That is literally the point of public comment. This is the incumbent, Diane Vanderwell. So she was appointed in 2020. We have a curse in Sparks. The mayor always dies in office. It's really horrible, or they get really sick and then they die. There is not, the last living mayor is from like the 90s. The past like 4 or 5 mayors have died in office. And she was appointed because our council person became the mayor when the mayor died. So she was appointed in 2020, 2019, 2020. She ran for re-election in 2022. And this is where it's possible to win. She ran against someone who did nothing. He raised $1,800. She spent $65,000, and she only won by 183 votes out of like 5,000 votes. Our turnout's going to be super low. We're estimating for the primary less than 2,500 people are going to vote. So now I want to get into our campaign milestones and data. And a lot of this has been me. I do have some volunteers that help. I'd say 90%, 90% of the work we've done ourselves. I do have a friend that does my graphic design, but I built the website myself. I've built a lot of this myself. And it's about consistency. So showing up for an hour a day, every day for 2 years, right? It is, we don't have to walk. So we have about 100 miles of road in our neighborhood. It isn't about walking 100 miles in a weekend. It's about walking 1 mile a day, every day for 2 years, right? So first I want to define what a targeted contact is. I think it's always very important to be very explicit about how we're talking about our data. So we're calling a targeted contact someone where myself or a voter successfully went to their house and left something at their door or met them, or a personally addressed piece of mail was delivered to them. So a letter or a mail piece. We were very targeted with our mail because we just didn't have the money. Over the last year, I've walked over 500 miles personally. And again, I didn't do that in a weekend. That was every day, just a mile here and there, right? There were some days where I walked 10 miles. There were days where me and some volunteers covered 50 miles. But there were also days where it was a half mile, Our last day walking was 2 weeks ago. What? Memorial Day. But that Sunday, well, we actually got caught out in the snow. If you're familiar with Reno, we have the fourth and fifth and sixth winter, so it's 80 degrees, and then all of a sudden I'm in a snowstorm, and I had a volunteer, Pablo, very nice guy, and I tell him, I'm like, hey, we can call it for today because it's snowing and we're not really prepared. And he says, no, we have to keep going. So we kept going for 2 hours in the snow. But we did over 500 miles. There's no other candidate that can say they did that in any race in Washoe County. In my district, we have 10,574 voters. This is as of last night, and I'll get into some of that. We contacted 4,387 of them at least once. We actually contacted closer to 5,500 people, but we removed people who have passed away or relocated because they're not eligible to vote in our district anymore. So we contacted over 4,000 people. That's 41.8% of the electorate. As of last night, we had 1,330 ballots cast. I think that's about 60 to 70% of what's going to be cast in this primary. And we contacted 894 of those people at least once. And this doesn't include Facebook ads, other ads. This is just mail pieces that were addressed specifically to them, or I showed up at their door and at a minimum left something on their door. And I want you guys to see that rat card. This is a second rat card, because this is what I want to tell you guys. We didn't walk our district once. We walked our district 100% 2 times. Wow. So that's why I say we contacted some of these people at least once. Most of them we contacted twice. This is the second walk card, and if you notice, there's a hole in the corner of it. What we do, I don't understand why the Democrats do this. They'll get a bunch of rat cards for their candidates, give them to volunteers, and then they like boomerang them, and they slip under the doormat. Every house where a Democrats had been, that's what I saw. We put a rubber band through that hole and we put it right on their doorknob. Or if there's a gate, we put it on the gate. If there's a no soliciting sign, we mark that and we mail them something that says, we saw your no soliciting sign, so we didn't leave anything, and that's why you're getting this letter. We spent about $700 on those letters, and we got $700 in donations from those people, so we broke even on that. So out of the people that have voted, we've contacted 67.2% of them. Now, if you notice, we contacted of the whole electorate only 46% of them, but of the people that have actually voted, we've contacted 67.2% of them. So why did we only try to contact 5,000 people, right? So this is a data-driven campaign. If you know me, some people on the call know me, I am a data nerd. I previously told you guys that I am doing like hobbyist AI research, and the big thing is I have a dedicated server physically in my house, and all it does is does math. It just processes voter information right now, so we can kind of try to figure out how to spend our money, what we're doing. So we're not running a get out the vote campaign, right? Someone else can do that. The Democrats can do that. The Republicans can do that. That's not us, right? We need to be super efficient with our time and our money. So what are we doing? We're running a brand first brand awareness campaign. That brand is the candidate. In this case, it's me, right? We want people to know who I am. Luckily, I would say I'm fairly well known in my community. I'd say my wife is always annoyed because we'll go out and we'll get stopped sometimes when we're trying to go shopping or meet because people just know me. And that said, I'm not as prominent as the incumbent. I'm not as prominent as other people. So we're trying to get my name out there as much as possible. And so keeping that in mind, how do we target people? How do we choose our targets? And I think this is a lesson that we can learn for everyone. And I was talking to Jamie earlier, and he was actually explaining the strategy I'm about to tell you guys. On the West Coast, this is not common. You know, I'm telling the people that we're doing this, I'm telling professional campaign managers, salary campaign managers that we're doing this, and it's like we're inventing the wheel or we've discovered fire again, because they're so stuck in their ways, or they've been so supported by a large party that they don't have to think about this. But as an other party, right, as a Pirates, we got to do everything ourselves. So we ask questions. Specifically, we ask questions of the Washoe County Registrar of Voters via public records request. And so this is what we ask. We ask for all of our registered voters in Ward 1. These public records requests cost us money, so we only did it twice, and we pay 1 penny per name. The benefit of that is all of our public records requests were answered within 48 hours or less. And they include a flash drive. It's a nice, like 64 gigabyte USB 3 drive. So I'll pay $130 to have a fast public records request. They email it, and I get to pick up a flash drive, or they mail it to me. So we asked for everyone in Ward 2, active and inactive. That number was 13,000 people. And then of the last 4 general and primary elections, which ones they participated in. And then we also asked their date of voter registration, right? Because maybe they didn't participate in the last 8 elections, but they also just registered to vote because they just turned 18, right? And so from that, we get a list that looks like this. This is heavily filtered down on a per person. I think we have 113 or 114 data points. We have their party, we have their birthday, we have their phone number. 99% of that we throw away. We don't care about it right now. What we care about is that voter history and the date of voter registration. And from that information, we assign a statistical likelihood that someone is actually going to show up and vote. And we only focus on the virgin voters, so they appear in our data as a divide by 0 error, which is assigned as 100%, and then 50% and above voters. So they've showed up for at least half of the elections they've been eligible to vote in or more, right? And those are the people we're going after. And as much as I do believe in getting out the vote, it sounds kind of hypocritical for me to stand up here and say we're not running that kind of campaign, because we're not. We don't have the time or the money. But the biggest reason we're targeting these people is cost. So let's say I wanted to target 10,000 people. I get a price break on printing. It's about 15 cents per piece for a rack card in your hands if I did 10,000, and that's $1,500. And then it's a question of how long would it take me to go to 10,000 doors? I think we could, with the volunteers, we could do this every 60 seconds, which is about 160 or 70 seconds. It's about 160 hours. But if we only focus on 4,000 people, we're going to pay more for our printing, but we're still going to save $500. So at 25 cents per piece, we're still spending $1,000. It's going to take us longer to go per door because now we have more distance between houses. It's about 90. On average, I hit a door every 90 seconds. So it's about 100 hours still. So this is my question for our candidates. What else can you do with 60 extra hours? How many phone calls can you make? How many events can you host? Right? What can you do with 60 extra hours? That's 60 visits to voters that want to have a one-on-one with you, right? So am I going to spend that 60 extra hours on walking door to door for people that probably aren't going to come and vote? Or am I going to do more one-on-one stuff? Because that's, in my opinion, that's what helps. What can I do with 500 extra bucks? This campaign is kind of interesting because it's a small district. It's only 3 miles wide and 2 miles tall, yet there's a lot of money. My opponent at the last check-in had $45,000. I had 13. We've spent every dime. So what can you do with 500 bucks? In my opinion, you could do a whole lot with 500 bucks. I could do a lot with 100 bucks. That's 600 or 700 mail pieces, right? That is time that you don't have to spend raising $500 that you could spend on doing something else. So what are we missing as a party? So some of you guys might have heard of vans or NGP van or minivan if you've ever volunteered for large campaigns. The Republican Party has their app. The Democratic Party has their app. It just kind of depends on how those people lean. And the well was poisoned for me. I was not allowed to use minivan because I'm not a Democrat, and someone else said they were going to use it. And even if we could, even if we were allowed to use that app, I can't afford it. It was $300 a month, right? I'm an independent candidate. We've been doing this. I announced on June 2nd of last year. So just someone else can do the math. 12 months times $300. for data management, volunteer access, and then there's add-ons, and then I'm buying data. So what do these apps do? They do data access. They make it easier to do those public records requests. Sometimes they've already paid for that data, and they just have it, so you just log in and it's there. You don't have to wait the 48 hours. They do data science, right? That's where we get that statistical percentage. That's also where we can make projections. We track ongoing data. Data management. I have a spreadsheet that's 3 gigabytes. If you know how spreadsheets work, you know how big of a spreadsheet that is. It takes 30 minutes for my MacBook to open. It takes 45 to 50 minutes for it to save it when I make a change. These are huge. We have to use databases. If you're familiar with databases, you know they're a nightmare. I hate Microsoft Access. I hate Microsoft Access. I hate Microsoft Access. It's a nightmare. But it's important. Data management is important. And then voter access. You guys have probably seen the DIY spreadsheets that people make. What I'm about to show you guys came out from my campaign manager watching me make one of those spreadsheets. And he said, Hunter, in the time it would take you to finish making all the spreadsheets for all of the zones, could you do something different? Could you make an app? And that's risky, because if I fail, I still have to make the spreadsheets. But now I'm at the end of my campaign with nothing to show for it. So we made Cutlass Maps. Yes, it's pirate themed. So Cutlass Maps, it gives us data access. We are going to be, oh, it's delayed. Come on. I'm going to keep going. It gives us data access. So right now we're kind of stuck in Nevada. We're not, because that's what we're familiar with. We know how Clark County, that's Las Vegas. We know how Clark County works. We know how Washoe County works. We even know how the rural counties work. We don't know how other states work. So right now we're going to do this in Nevada. We actually have another candidate that's running that's going to be using this application as well. We're going to be able to do the data science all within the same app. This makes it easy for you, to make, it gives you access to a data scientist. I have access to a data scientist because I know a lot of people who have done this. They're sympathetic to my cause. Most people can't afford a data scientist. Most people don't even know where to get one. Or you're going to find one on the internet and then you can't afford them. Data management. Again, databases are hard. We're going to make it easy. And then volunteer access. This is the hardest one because I can't tell you how expensive it is to start printing spreadsheets. It is so much more expensive than people tell you. And it's one of those costs that's usually not kept track of, so no one really knows. But it adds up. And then if you're using spreadsheets, you got to spend time putting in that data. Either that's you, a volunteer, or a paid staff, right? So what's super cool about this is we own this product. It's ours. We get to control who uses it. We don't have to be exclusionary of pirates because we are pirates, right? And our goal is to be 90% cheaper than other van products. So I told you that I got quoted $300 a month for minivan. I think it'd be great if we could get out for $30 a month. That wouldn't include the data, especially in states where public records requests cost money. But our goal is to come in cheaper. We're not ready to launch yet, but for the next election we will be, and I hope that we have more pirate candidates in Nevada and Washoe County. Our other goal was to be better performing than the other van products, which is really hard, right? Because these are big corporations with multi-million-dollar budgets. Apparently not. Apparently minivan totally failed during the Kamala Harris campaign, and they spent like $1 billion trying to fix it at the last minute. It was a nightmare. So this is what the administration page looks like. You log in. This is a two-factor authentication system that's based on Heritage Bank. They use picture-based. 90% of people choose the dog, so don't choose the dog. And this is what your administration dashboard looks like. So again, we were targeted. We had, at this point in time, some of these numbers are going to be wrong because this data is kind of fake data for this presentation. It's not up to date. It's old data. But at the time, we had just under 13,000 registered voters. We excluded anyone that was under 50%, and that's where we got the 7,500 voters. And then we put them in zones, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute. And then at the point of time that this data was kind of being used, we had at that point addressed 886 voters. So that means we went to their homes. Turf cutting. This is what is surprisingly hard, and this is what has kept people from creating apps like this. And luckily, I'm a cartography nerd. I actually, if you guys are familiar with OpenStreetMaps,
Yes.
I had to do 30 hours of edits to our city because a lot of the street names were wrong. So I was telling someone else today, you'll have like Galt Way, and then randomly it turns into East Galt Way. But on OpenStreetMaps, it was West Galt Way too, which doesn't exist. And it was breaking our system because it's looking in a spreadsheet for West Galt Way. So we fixed our OpenStreetMaps for at least our district. This is what it looks like. So you get little tools and you get to draw zones. Eventually, we're hoping that this will be automated. This is still something where I think, as much as I hate to say it, AI is going to be better than a human, because I made errors. I try to make the walking routes as efficient as possible, right? Which way is the house facing? Things like that. I made mistakes still, right? And so this is something that the computer overlords can happily take off of my plate because it was a nightmare to manually go in and draw all of these zones. If you have a bigger race, like Washoe County's got 500,000 people. If you're trying to, there's 200 precincts. If you wanted to cut all of that up, I mean, this would be a full-time job. So we're hoping to automate that. Volunteer access, again, this is the hardest part. So what do we do? So you can create a walking day. When you create a walking day, it generates a QR code. If you scan this QR code, it should say that you don't have access because it expired. But it takes you to a page that looks like this. So the volunteers scan the QR code, they enter their name, they get to pick a zone, they get to confirm that that is the zone they want to walk. Then they just say what street they're on and what side of the street they're on. When they hit the house number, they hit one of the responses, right? These are the responses that we use for our campaign. They're editable. You can see it's still early, the no solicit. I don't know why I can't center no soliciting. I can make a whole database app, and I can't get text to center in a button that tells you where my time has been spent. So what has our feedback been? So Diana Mackey, she's a candidate for Sparks Mayor. She's also on the Washoe Dems Executive Board. She said it's better than Minivan. It performs better, it works better, it's easier to use. Blaise Jorgensen, he's a friend of mine. He's also running for Washoe County Public Administrator. That is the elected official in our county that handles dead people. We don't know why it's an elected position. We don't think it should be. A little bit of a tangent. In Nevada, our public administrators are notorious for bad behavior. The one in Vegas murdered someone. He was stealing stuff out of dead people's homes, watches, jewelry, and someone from the Las Vegas Review-Journal wrote a news story about it. He lost his election, lured him to his house while he's still the public administrator and stabbed him to death while dressed as a landscaper. And did he get life in prison or did he get the death penalty? Life in prison. Robert Tejas. We had another public administrator in another jurisdiction in Nevada who is Catholic. So the public administrator, have you ever wondered when a homeless person dies, what happens to their body? Well, usually it gets cremated, and then those remains are handled with dignity. We had a public administrator in another county that randomly became a devout Catholic and refused to sign off on the cremations. The judge got involved and ordered the cremations after 60 bodies were piled up. So we don't, tangent, we don't know why it's an elected position, but that's what the public administrator does. It's a partisan office too. He's running as a Democrat. You have to be in a party to run for this position. Tangent, he's also a Kamala Harris volunteer, so he's familiar with Minivan. He does have the same campaign manager as me. He has adopted this application. They are going to use it for their campaign at a wider scale. So they really like it. James Alderin is my campaign manager. He has some wins under his belt from his time in Oregon, some Portland campaigns, municipal campaigns, congressional campaigns, and he says it's a game changer. And I asked him why. He said no other candidate has ever put in this much work, right? We had our access to something denied, so we just made it ourselves. And that's been the whole mentality of our campaign. No one else is going to do this for us, so we're going to go out and just do it, you know? It gives us parity with the big parties. And as pirates, we can actually, for the first time ever, in my opinion, especially in places where there's open primaries or jungle primaries where we don't need signatures, we can be serious contenders, right? In Washoe County, specifically in this race, or to run for Mayor Sparks, parties don't matter. There are no signatures. Are you a U.S. citizen? Have you lived in your jurisdiction for 30 days or more? Have you been registered to vote for 30 days or more? And do you have $30 cash? Was it cash? They don't take credit cards. That's it. That's the requirement to run for office. And these are the races that are possible to win because pirates, we have a popular platform. I got people who voted for Donald Trump with my sign up. I got people who voted for Kamala Harris with my sign up because they come out, everyone wants to argue with me and they ask, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? And I get to say, I'm actually a pirate. And everyone, every time, chuckles. And then I start talking about the first three pillars. The other pillars are important, but honestly, as a city council member, I can't affect copyright. I can't affect, I guess I can affect clean water. It's not a problem in our community, I'll be honest. We just drink tap water. It's cleaner than bottled water, as weird as, Arrowhead is disgusting, I'm sorry. Do you guys have Arrowhead water out here?
Yeah, the same bottler makes Poland Spring here.
Okay,
Coca-Cola.
okay. Arrowhead tastes like,
Bad.
I was gonna say another word and then I realized we're streaming. It's bad. Our water in Sparks, Nevada is cleaner than Arrowhead. I hate to say that. I guess that's a good thing to say. So it's not an issue. But so we focus on the first three things. Everyone is sick of what's been going on. Everyone is sick of everyone. And so when we look at the Republicans, when we look at the Democrats, it's really easy for us to say, we're gonna put people first, right? Opening up government, people want to participate and people can't. Who can go to a city council meeting on 2 p.m. on a Monday, right? It's impossible unless you can take time off. I can't tell you how many hours of unpaid time off I've taken to go to council meetings. And it shouldn't be like that, but it's almost set up like that intentionally. And people, when you point that out, they're sick of that too. They don't care what party you're in. They want to just go and talk with you and have a say in how they're being governed and how they're being policed and how they're deciding to close the fire station that is 2 minutes from their house, and now their response time is 6.5 minutes. Defending our privacy. Some people are actually really creeped out by the flock cameras. You can't go anywhere in our city without being spotted by one. And it's I believe it's a Fourth Amendment violation. Ignoring my personal feelings about flock safety, I believe it's gonna be a Fourth Amendment lawsuit one day. It's gonna be a hugely expensive lawsuit. I also think it's just a waste of money. I was reading a police report the other day. Reno police so Reno and Sparks they come over the border. It's a whole thing. It's kind of a regional governance thing. But Reno police were looking for a domestic violence, someone who had been accused of that, and they couldn't locate him. And I'm reading this police report, and it says on this day at this time, the flock safety system tagged his license plate at this intersection. 15 minutes later, I arrived at the intersection, and he was not there. This cop did that 3 times before saying he was going to drop the case because they can't find the guy. Oh, it's an intersection. They're useless, and the grants are going to sunset. People are afraid of that. So in Sparks, we have ShotSpotter. I had mixed feelings about ShotSpotter. When we had 10 rounds fired in front of our home, and the first call for service was from ShotSpotter, 30 seconds before the first 911 call, which there were 30 911 calls. everyone knows exactly who I am, and they're like, weird stuff is happening at his house because he's running for office. But ShotSpotter was the first call for service, and I guess I'm thankful for that. But ignoring the privacy concerns about ShotSpotter, City of Sparks never paid for it. It was a grant that was lobbied for by ShotSpotter. That grant sunset, and now the City of Sparks is on the hook for $400,000 a year to maintain the system that they're hooked on. And I told you guys we have a $120 million budget, but we only have $100 million. We just laid off 5 firefighters. Like, it's, how are we going to afford that? But we did. That's what they're spending money on, and there's no public input. So people are seeing what's happening, and they're really interested in what we're doing. And people are afraid of us in Nevada because we have a shot. As much as this presentation was about my campaign and about an app that I made that I hope other pirate candidates use, I think that we need to be more selective about what offices we run for. Because I've met people. We have our congressional, Nevada CD2, Congressional District 2. The Mark Amadei, semi-professional race car driver who has never stepped foot in his office, is retiring from Congress. We have 27 congressional candidates. Maybe 5 of them are serious. But I'm looking at the people who I know are not serious, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, how much time and effort have you put into your vanity campaign? And I think that you care about our community, but what if you put that time and effort into running for city council, running for another board? You might win because you put a whole lot more time and effort in than anyone else, than the person who actually won, right? I looked at Mayor Ed Lawson. He's our current mayor. He's been very kind to me. I think he's complacent. Do you remember that statement, complacency kills? I don't think he's doing enough. He thinks he's got it in the bag. And while he thinks he's got it in the bag, maybe he's walking door to door, whatever. There's other candidates that have hit 10,000 doors. There's a candidate that hit 30,000 doors, and I know he hasn't. I think he's trying to now, but I think that it's going to be closer than he would like. You know, I think that's, if we're selective and we put the same amount of effort in, we can win these races, especially in communities where we have open primaries. I said that. Yeah. So thank you. I figured that I would have a few minutes for questions. I don't know how behind I am.
No, you're.
Am I ahead? This is a 99-slide PowerPoint.
No, I finished.
You got 10 more minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a 99-slide PowerPoint. So I like the one slide thing. So I wanted to see if anyone had questions. Yes.
So as another pirate candidate of the past and hopefully of the future, my question is, financially you seem more conservative, but policy-wise it seems like you're people first. So it seems like as a normal pirate, you're using the political system as an a la carte, taking what you want and leaving the rest.
Yes and no.
You're not looking to waste the public money. If anything, it seems like you're looking to balance the budget, so it makes sense.
We can't even have the conversation in our community about helping people because we can't keep our fire stations open. Like that's the biggest problem. And the way our community is laid out means that as our fire engines are covering the areas that are covered by the closed fire stations, well, it's going to take them 30 or 40 minutes to now get back to us. I fully believe in the pirate platform. I think one day we can get there in our community, but we got to figure this $20 million budget deficit out, because what they want to do is, it's getting crazy in Reno and Sparks. So one of the reasons I wanted to provide some context is because Nevada is a very unique place. I think Rose might have a little bit of that from bordering. If you want to see a bunch of left-wingers that own firearms, I got endorsed by an anti-gun group after I told them I believed in personal machine gun ownership, because that's a very Nevada thing. And they said, I asked, like, you're sure you talked to the right person? They're like, oh, no, you're the only person that was honest with us, because we know Nevadans, right? Nevada's a very strange place. We have a Democratic legislature. We have 2 Democratic senators. We have 3 Republican congressmen and a Republican governor. If you ever want to see a purple state, it's Nevada. I think at the end of the day, you know, I got asked by someone from the Satanic Temple. As weird as that sounds, that was a phone call I wasn't expecting. And I didn't know how that conversation was going to go, but he was asking me, how do you feel about the anti-homeless laws? And the answer is, I feel awful, because we're just trying to push them out of town and not help them. But one of the problems in the city of Sparks is we don't have our sovereignty anymore. We've signed away our money and our seat at the table to the county for the homeless issue, which means we kind of had to pass by law, the law that the county passed. And our mayor is actively trying to dissolve the advisory board. I think the biggest thing in Nevada is balancing the budget, because when the budget's not balanced, they start raising the fees for everyone. And you get people who have owned their homes for 30 years getting priced out. And you got politicians with really sharp tongues that want to do things the way that they want to do them, because there's some benefit to them for it. And what happens is, so right now we've got 3 fire departments. We have the Reno Fire Department, Sparks Fire, and then Truckee Meadows Fire covers a lot of the unincorporated areas around Reno and Sparks. And what they want to do is they want to talk about regionalization. And when they first proposed regionalization, it was to take the money that Sparks spends on fire, Reno spends on fire, and the county spends on fire, and make that dollar go longer, right, further, because instead of having 3 executive staffs, you have 1. Instead of having 3 fire chiefs, you have 1, and it would look like a fire department from just a bigger metropolitan area. And so on the surface, that sounds like a great idea. Response times are going to be faster. There was an incident where at one of my wife's salons, a car went through the front, pinned an employee. There was a rescue truck from Truckee Meadows Fire a mile away, and they never got the call. It took Reno 30 minutes to get there. And so when they proposed this, I'm like, this is a great idea. I think I still have an article saying I'm in support of it. But now I went to a meeting. The cities don't want to turn over their money. They want a new tax. They want a new board of elected officials that would draw salaries. It's something that it shouldn't be. So I think it's not so much that I'm afraid of taxes. It's in Nevada. Anytime there's tax money, they squander it. You know, we legalized marijuana. We make $1 billion a year off of marijuana, and they said that money goes to our schools. It does, but they didn't double the budget. They took the money that they were giving away, and now they use that for tax abatements for data centers, Tesla. Everyone loves Elon Musk, and that's a sarcastic statement. Everyone seems to, I don't like. It's a mix. We have mixed relationships with Elon Musk, but he's one of the largest employers in our area. But he doesn't have to pay taxes for 10 years, you know, on one of the largest buildings in the world.
So a billionaire doesn't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, and that's what I want to stop. It's not about, you know, I would say I am fiscally conservative, but I've never had a problem paying for what we get, you know. At the same time, they want to raise our taxes and then squander that money on vanity projects, on a $1 billion airport upgrade that I really don't think we need. So that's kind of what's been happening in our community. And then we got problems where we're closing fire stations and to keep these other projects going. And it sucks because, Fire Station 6 was just opened. They knew about that for 15 years. Fire Station 5 is further out. Fire Station 5, all the houses around Fire Station 5 were built without fire sprinklers because their response time was 2 minutes. By law, you don't have to have fire sprinklers. All the houses around Fire Station 6 were built before there was a fire station. They all have fire sprinklers, but it looks really bad for a city to open a brand new fire station and not put firefighters in there. So what do? They close Fire Station 5, put them all in Fire Station 6, and now everyone around Fire Station 5 has a 6.5-minute response time. 2 houses were lost. It takes about 3 minutes for a house to burn down in our community. Just I don't know what it is. It's just, no matter how new it is, it's just 3 minutes, it's fully involved. I don't know if that's consistent across the country. We don't do a lot of brick-built structures because we have earthquakes. So everything is wood and drywall and plywood, and they go up really fast. And then we have wildfires and whatnot. But I think that they actually just reversed that decision. So in the past 2 days, since Friday actually, Fire Station 5 is going to be staffed again. Fire Station 6 will be closed, which makes sense. We didn't have that fire station for 15 years. So does that answer your question a little bit?
And then some.
And then some, yeah. Any questions from the internet?
Check the comment section, see if they ask.
Any other questions while we wait?
I mean, I had a whole bunch of questions, but
I-
not necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, this is,
More of a comment than a question.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised to hear that the municipality has 110,000 people and only a $120 million budget.
So that's where elections and jurisdiction get really complicated. One of the things that has upset me is when I'll complain about something and our elected representative has said, that's not in my jurisdiction. Because maybe that road is maintained by the RTC, the Regional Transportation Commission, which is staffed by the other elected officials. She just might not serve on that specific board. So it's what's interesting is we have 500,000 people in our county, and a lot of those county services serve the rural counties as well. So I might be elected by, if I win outright in the primary, I will be elected by under 2,000 people. And I might get appointed and be the chair of the public health board for all of Northern Nevada and like 10 different counties. People that can't vote for me, people that don't even live in my city, and I might be over them. And so when you look at that, it gets complicated. The RTC is for all the roads in Washoe County that are regional roads. They have a $200 million budget. So we get taxed $1 and a penny on every gallon of gas. And that budget is dropping every year as people adopt EVs because there was no EV adoption plan. Right? And it sucks because it's like, I don't want to pay more on my registration, but I also believe in paying my fair share. So I think we're going to have an EV tax because right now EVs pay $0 for using our roads. That's the only source of revenue for those roads. So in the past 5 years, this dropped every year they get like another $2 million less. So it was actually $200 million 5 years ago. It's $180 million this year. And next year it's going to be 170. That's what they're estimating. And our roads, because of our weather, our roads get trashed every year. It's bad.
Actually, I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
I know that you were talking about balancing the budget as one of the main things that you were planning on doing.
Yeah.
But if elected, what other things are on your immediate to-do list?
I think the easiest thing, and I think it's the most doable thing because it doesn't actually cost money. People are going to say it does. That's moving council meetings to a time where more people can come and participate in public comment, share ideas, meet their elected representatives. Most people I meet don't even know who their elected representative is, number one. Number two, I hear a lot of people that do want to participate in meetings, but they're teachers. They're people with day jobs. And I get we're still going to miss people that work at nights, but we're going to be able to have more people if our meetings are, if you moved it to 4 p.m., it makes it easier to take just a couple hours off instead of a half day. What if it was on Saturday? And instead of paying overtime, you just use comp time. You had to stay and work to run the meeting on Saturday. Take Monday off. We have these mechanisms in the city's HR policy and state law that all of this is doable, but no one. I get it. Our elected officials don't want to sit through an 8-hour meeting. Like, I get it. At the same time, this is the one part of government that's supposed to be inefficient. I get where we're talking about making it easier to get a business license, but they're trying to reduce the number of public hearings needed, and I think that's wrong. But that's the first thing I want to do is make our meetings more accessible.
Now, one of the other things that we were talking about well before this conference.
Yeah.
When we were first just casually talking, was you were talking about the transportation
Yeah.
issues, and so specifically making more public access available. What would that look like?
So I think the biggest thing right now is handling traffic. So we actually have one of the busiest intersections in all of Nevada is in my district. It's McCarran and Pyramid. In 2014, they took 70 homes by eminent domain to just widen it. And I want to tell you guys, it doesn't make the traffic faster. It made it worse. We have 22,000 residents in our district, and we have 165,000 cars a day pass through. Because we're kind of in the middle. So people going home, people who work on one side of town, they're coming through our district. And it's the deadliest intersection in northern Nevada as well. If you drive by Sparks PD, you'll see police cars lined up that are totaled. A lot of them were at that intersection while blocking it so a police officer could go investigate an accident, help someone, wait for a fire truck. People hit them. It's a dangerous intersection. It's one of the biggest intersections. I think it's like almost a full minute to cross as a pedestrian. And just because of poor planning, they took 70 houses because of it. Like that's what we got to stop doing. It's bigger than transportation. It's about just planning ahead. They like to approve things. Then they do deferred impact fees. So the developers are supposed to pay for road improvements, but they defer them. And then they pay today's rate 10 years down the road. So we lose out. It's supposed to stimulate the economy. And in the meantime, we have roads that are 10 years behind. And it takes me 20 minutes to go one block in a suburban area. That's not normal. This is not like a downtown area where you're expecting that. So that's the biggest thing, is just planning it differently. Light rail needs to happen for tricks, so that's where Tesla is, and Switch and all the other things. We need light rail. The rail lines are there. We just need to get Union Pacific to agree to it. They're at the table, but we just need more advocates for light rail. And we do need a northeast connector. So we need to connect the northern part of our city directly to there, because right now all those people come south through our district on Pyramid Way, get on Interstate 80, and then go over to that economic area. It's a 40 or 45-minute drive, and if you do a direct road, it's like a 20-minute drive, but those people wouldn't be coming through the other neighborhoods. The problem is, where are we going to put that road? Right now, the proposed area is through a sacred, I shouldn't say it because we're streaming, classified cultural resources. It involves the tribes. And so there's some tribes that want to allow this road because they get money. There's some tribes that don't want to allow this road. It's something that needs to happen, though, because our roads, people are dying on our road. My neighbor died. When it was that September. We share a fence with her. Someone made an illegal U-turn, and because of how our roads are, 2 people died. And people are literally dying on our roads. So that's like the biggest thing is we just need to also accept that these are real problems and not hypotheticals. I can't tell you how many times I've said traffic is a problem, and the elected officials will say, these are hypotheticals. I'm like, it took me an hour to get to this meeting, and I live 3 miles away. Like, these aren't hypotheticals. So I think that's, yeah, our public transport sucks. Like, I'll be honest, I've heard some people complaining about public transport in Boston. For me, this is like the greatest thing ever. I wouldn't need a car if I lived here. I saw some internet comments. I don't know if.
I was just reading them. Chris just asked about town economy and your position on economics. That is all the context I was given for that, so I asked for additional.
So we have to, I think the biggest thing, and I'll oversimplify this because I think I'm running out of time, is our tax structure in Nevada is messed up. It started in the 1960s, and it's just people that didn't want to pay property taxes. We don't have income tax in Nevada. So in Sparks, 70% of our tax revenue is from sales tax. So the economy, in my opinion, sucks right now. And when the economy sucks, people stop spending their discretionary income. And that's why we have a $20 million budget deficit. That is where it came from. The property taxes go up. They're capped at 3% every year. We think that they should reset upon the sale of homes. But I think the biggest thing is we got to change how the tax structure works, because when the economy's bad, of course we're going to have a deficit, and it's going to make things worse. right? So that it's not a good outlook. We have a heavily tourist-based economy in Sparks. You might have heard of the Rib Cook-Off. If you guys like barbecue, call me, come to Sparks. We will feed you barbecue. It's like $150 for all you can eat. I want to let you guys know I ate so many ribs 2 years ago. I put myself in the tent with the paramedics. I did not know that meat sweats were a thing, actually. Special events, we're losing our special events. You know, we used to have, for quite a few, it's like 5 or 6 years, we had dragon boat racing annually on our little marina, and water jet ski racing and all these other events. And now it's, I can count it on one hand what's coming out that's actually big. And so that's a lot of our revenue as well.
In reference to the time.
Yes.
I have to say, me and Jamie are at the end, and if you're taking some of my time because I'm talking about past campaigns, don't worry about it. I think this is
Okay.
important that you're able to voice what you're.
So I'm honored. But yeah, were there more internet questions?
Not as of yet.
So,
Just
Anything on the chat?
That's
I'm checking the YouTube comment section, and I'm currently not seeing anything.
so this is what I want to leave everyone with, unless you've got a burning question. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Early voting for me ended yesterday. Election day is Tuesday, and there's 3 options. I could lose right there. I can win outright. We can take it to November. So first off, I need everyone's support here and on the internet. My website is sparkstogether.com. I hope we don't have to go to November. Maybe I shouldn't admit this on the internet because I'm sure someone who I don't like is watching this on YouTube. We're out of money. We spent every dime, which is, in my opinion, the way it should be. If I lose, I don't have there's nothing more I could have done. We walked. We're not losing because of a lack of hard work. That said, I want everyone to know that regardless of how this turns out, we have tools, we have experience. James Alderan is a real campaign manager, and I'm sure he would consult on other campaigns remotely or find you someone locally. I'm the first non-Democrat that he's worked for. And he said, and I know I do have to be a politician. I do have to have some compromise, but he did tell me that he's never had a candidate stick to their guns like I have. And I think that's the most pirate thing we can do. You know, the Democrats came out immediately and other people trying to make fun of us. And I think what they discovered is we're a group of crazy people that put people first. And I think that surprised everyone, that we're honest in our convictions. I think there's room to work with everyone. But at the same time, like, I am gonna stick with my guns. I think we can win this election. I think we can win more elections. And now we have some of the things that the big parties have, I'm sure that Mitch now has a guide, metaphorically, on what to do if a candidate calls, because there was a shooting in front of their house. That's something, the Democratic Party, if you get shot at, you call them and they take care of it. They make it go away. Now we have answers. Now we know what to do. It's not new to us anymore, So we have experience, we have lessons. I'm willing to talk to anyone, but the biggest thing is we have an app that can make, and I'm sure we can figure out signature collection. I don't know how that works because that's not really a thing we do in Nevada the same way, but I am sure that we can figure out how to make the app work for every pirate campaign moving forward. I'm sure Mitch will post my information, and I want to be a resource for future pirate candidates that want to make change in their community. I will also tell you, and I don't know, this is why I brought it up earlier, because parties work differently in Nevada. There's no point in having a state party yet, but we would like a county party. The county party is where the power comes from. And that's how you get on a ballot with no signatures needed in a partisan race. And they would print pirate next to our names. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm sure we'll talk to Mitch and other people. But yeah, any other questions? Thank you all.
How can people donate? How can people donate to your campaign?
Thank you. I'm waiting for my campaign manager to come out and slap me for not saying that. I'm like, I've got a little bit of PTSD. Sparkstogether.com/donate, sparkstogether.com.
And to piggyback off of that, how can people volunteer for your campaign?
They can fill out a form on sparkstogether.com. There's a button that says support or contact if you want to volunteer. I want to tell you guys, we actually had someone, a pirate, drive up from San Jose and walk with us. We got other transhumanists and pirates that had, had lunch with me and then had their own events to talk about the candidates amongst themselves. And as strange as it sounds, for a county that's as politically active as Washoe, we have about 120 pirates per the voter rolls. And
Yeah.
so for us, the next step is just organizing the pirates. We actually, we have, including me, 5 pirates in our district. My wife is not a pirate, so she's not, I'm not counting her. There are 4 other pirates in my district. All 4 of them have already voted, and I visited all 4 of them. And so I'd say for a community as geographically small as ours, we have a good foundation. We also, we have sympathizers in the Democratic Party. Again, the Washoe Dems is one of the most powerful Democratic organs in the whole country. I mean, every presidential candidate wants to appear in front of them, and they do. George Bush came to Washoe County. Trump comes to Washoe County. Kamala Harris comes to Washoe County. Same with the Republican Party. They know who we are. I got invited. It was kind of scary. I got invited to speak at the Washoe County Democratic Convention this year. I was the only non-Democrat. And it was funny because you can't sit with them unless you're a Democrat. So I'm sitting there. They know I'm not a Democrat, but they have me sit in the front row. And my wife and my campaign manager are sequestered in like a special non-Democrat zone to watch from afar. And, I opened up my speech with, thanks for the invite. I got to tell you guys, I'm not a Democrat, so thank you for inviting me. And people are into what we're talking about. And so to say that we have a popular platform, we don't even need to do the big tent stuff, because if we get down to the core of why we're doing this, if we remember what democracy is about, putting people first, I think that's something everyone has in common. Republicans are into that, Democrats are into that, because at the end of the day, we can't win without their votes too. And it'll be interesting. June 9th. Watch the Facebook pages. You can sparkstogether.com. You can subscribe. I think it'll be interesting. I think this is, I don't know how much money Blaze Henry on, or anyone else has. I don't know how big your campaign is. I don't know how big, Timothy O'Grady?
Tim Grady.
Tim Grady.
of
I don't want to say this is like the biggest campaign. I might not be, but we've done something no other candidate has raised as much as we ever have. I've actually raised more money than, there's 5 Democratic congressional candidates that ran as like a group. This is why I had the whole conversation about the vanity campaigns. 4 of them dropped out after voting had started. And it's like, of course you're not. And then they endorsed the 5th person, and I'm like, you took votes away because you did it too late. And I hate to say that, they're all really nice people. I raised more money than all of them put together, and we didn't get, our limit is $5,000 per election period, so some people can raise $10,000. I didn't get any of those checks. It's $10, $20, $50, $100. Mitch, $200, thank you.
How much was from people versus corporations?
Okay, so yeah, if I can use some of your time, I'm sorry. I'd like to plug my video game.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Mitch said it's the most pirate thing. I actually asked for permission from Mitch. Or can we do it on there? I don't know. What's the best way to do this? Should I do it? Should I just share my screen
Yeah,
again?
we can share on there, yeah.
Share, yeah.
Let me get reconnected here. Uh-oh. So I made, if you scan my business cards, At the bottom, there's a link that says, "Who does Diane work for?" .com. And, yep, that, also on the rack card, there's a QR code. And so in Nevada, we are brutally transparent with our campaign finances. And so this is whodoesdianeworkfor.com. It might be a little bit laggy. So you play as the incumbent, Diane Vanderwell, and you collect corporate money. And when you collect corporate money, oops, let me get over. It has screenshots of actual corporate money that she collected in real life. She raised about $45,000. That's my money. Almost 60% of her funds at the last check-in were corporate money, $5,000 donations, $1,000 donations. We're not even including the people who donated in their personal name but own a company. There are people that own things that appeared before the council to be voted on that have given her money. So we didn't count them unless it was in the name of an LLC or a corporation. And almost 60%, just under 60% of our funds was corporate money. For my campaign, over 97% of our money was from real people. We got 2 corporate donations. One was for $300, one was for $75. It's LLCs that my friends own, and it's a lobbying tax thing for them. They don't operate in our city even. They would never appear in front of me, which is why I feel comfortable taking that. I am the only candidate that is beholden to no one. And I think that makes me unique. My campaign manager has made almost 3,000 phone calls to the normal donor pool, and we've got people to sit out, people that we're going to give money to other candidates. He said a lot of people are legitimately afraid of us. They're afraid of me, they're afraid of the Pirate Party, because they have no idea what to expect. Because I'll be honest, pirates are not business friendly. Like, we are business friendly, but we're not at the same time. If that business doesn't want to put people first,
Yeah.
right?
Not corporate friendly.
We're not corporate friendly, Small businesses, yeah. Do we want to make it easier to get business licenses? Yeah. Are we friendly to tax abatements that take money from our schools and our roads? No. And I think that's what people are nervous from. My campaign manager, I feel really bad for him. He actually raised us $0 in almost 3,000 phone calls because I'm a pirate, which he said he respects the hell out of me for still sticking to the pirate brand. He actually renegotiated our contract down. I don't think we have confidentiality. So originally he gets standard rate is 20% of all the money coming in he gets. Usually though, that's because he raises it. He has spent countless hours on this campaign, and he requested that it's renegotiated to 20% of funds he brings in, 10% of funds I bring in. So he's still getting paid, not a lot, but he's still getting paid something for he spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours on this campaign. So, but yeah, this is whodoesdianeworkfor.com. Feel free to play it. All of the numbers are real and all the screenshots are real. And you can even go to Nevada Aurora. And if anyone ever wants to copy this, I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to share the code. Technically, it's not an open source project. I don't want it to be open source because I do want to control. I don't want like a Republican to take this and make some crazy like MAGA game. So, did someone ask a?
I think someone is.
I can't hear the question.
So they basically said the enemy of a business is another business, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, we've had some businesses sit out. At the same time, like, I don't want to use names because I don't want to like. There are some people that are sitting out as a favor to me, and I don't want to like out them as being unfriendly to my opponent because they have to do business in front of her. Like, I get it. There are major casinos that have given her money, and there's a major casino that did not. And I have a personal relationship with one of the staff members, and he shared the message. There is a very large construction company that gave $10,000 to every candidate. My request was for them to sit out. I said, I'm not, and that's such a strange thing, is to ask someone not to support me, just sit out. Don't support the other person, just sit out. You don't live in this neighborhood, sit out. We know we've gotten at least 30 grand not given to her because of that. So that's definitely a weird strategy to use, is to just dry up the money. We were expecting at the last check-in for her to have $80,000 to $100,000. She had 45. And we thought that it was a delightful surprise for us. Not that money has flowed to us. And I'll be honest, I don't know if we would take it. If someone showed up with a $5,000 check from a casino, I'm not going to say no, because that affects my campaign manager's compensation. That's a discussion for me, him, and honestly my wife, and probably some of my supporters. At the same time, I would make it very clear that I am beholden to no one but the voters. And I've made that very clear, which is also why I've not been approached with a $5,000 check from anyone. So, yeah. But thank you all.
Thank you for not doxing.
Yes, thank
your
you.
constituents.
Yeah, the Reno Gazette Journal did. Oh my gosh, they published everyone's top donors, and mine is my dad. Because he sent me, from when I started, he sent me $100 a month. So it was actually funny for everyone else's top donors. It was like, here's this casino and this construction company, the Sheriff's Deputies Association, and for me, it's 3 people's real names. And I'm like, well, that's my old intern. That's her mom, and that's my dad. so kind of yeah, so they did that for me, unfortunately. But take some buttons, take some printed materials as exemplars. You know, you guys can't vote for me. This is not here for me to pitch you guys. I'm sure we can get this uploaded too. These are examples of good graphic design, in my opinion. I don't know if we're going to be able to do templates to help other campaigns moving forward, but I want the Pirate Party to be a resource for pirate candidates, and so we can make more change. But thank you guys so much. I don't know how that, there we go. So thank you guys.
Thank you.